Hi all, this is Dana here. In this video I'm actually going to be showing you how to find the center of your fabric. I've had a few questions from people asking like how to actually start a pattern, and it really does depend on the pattern. Like for me, if I'm working on a piece that's full coverage, so full coverage means like the entire block of the pattern will be covered, there isn't any space left, like this one's got space around it. If it's full coverage, I tend to just start in the upper left corner and just work my way across like that. If you're cutting your fabric yourself and it doesn't come with a kit, it's best to leave like about a 3-inch margin on all of your edges. So you'd look at the finished size of your pattern and then you'd add 3 inches on both sides, up and down. So it'd be an extra 6 inches in total on each end, and that just gives you enough space to work, and it also gives you enough space to do framing or mounting or anything like that. Like if you're going to frame it in an embroidery hoop, if it's smaller, like in the last video I just had. So, but if you're working on a piece that isn't full coverage and you can't sort of easily find the corner to work from, which is my preferred way of doing it, the next best way to do it is to find the center of the pattern. So I've printed off a page of one of my patterns. It's not in color. I'm sorry, my printer is shockingly bad right now with ink. So this is part of the to serve pattern. So it's like words running down it of different patriotic words. So as you can see on most of my patterns now, it's got little arrows on it. So that these arrows will be pretty much on every page that's close to the center. So if it's like way over here type thing, then you're not going to see these arrows. But these arrows mark the center line. So this marks the horizontal center line, and this one marks the vertical center line. In the actual PDF of the pattern, it actually shows up as a really thin red line. Because I couldn't print in color, you can't see that, so I just sort of made it a little bit darker so you can see. So this section right here, that's your center right there of your fabric. So once you've figured out how much margin you have on your fabric, and like I said, 2 to 3 inches is pretty much a bare minimum for most pieces, just so you do have space for framing and whatnot, and that way if your edge frays a little bit, it doesn't matter. So what you're going to do is, so say there's your center of your pattern there. I've got my handy dandy little pin cushion here. This is actually my Fleur et Papillon pin cushion pattern on my site. Make it into a little embroidery hoop too. So this is just a scrap piece of fabric I had, so this isn't representative of the size of this pattern. Just using this as an example. So what you're going to do is fold your fabric in half. And what I do is I use a straight pin and I mark roughly which one is the dead center. I wouldn't crease the fabric, like don't fold it, you're just going to create a crease in your fabric, so try to not bend it too tightly, but as long as it's like within 1 or 2 rows of being center, then you're good. It's going to be good. If you're off by a couple of inches, that's a problem. Alright, and same thing here. Find your center. You can just look on the top, usually that's close enough, and mark that. Alright, so I've got my 2 pins here, top and bottom. If you're working on a really big piece, this might be a little bit trickier, and you might actually have to put extra pins in. So like say you'd follow this line up, put another pin in, follow it up, put another pin in, just so you can see your lines a little bit better where you're going to be working. But for this one, it's not going to be too bad. So what you're going to do to find your dead center is, so this one you can see it's on this line here, so follow it across. And then roughly where your center is going to be, you can just drop in another pin. I just use straight pins, I just find it easier. Alright, so there's that one there. And then this one. This one I'm just going to lay down so you might not be able to see it quite as well. Follow this up. You can also use a ruler just to line this up, or even the edge of your pattern, or anything straight that you can follow this line up. Alright, so that's my dead center right there. So what I'm going to do for now is just pop in that pin, so I know that the pin head is the center of the pattern. And what you can do is right at that center there, so that where the pinhead is, that hole, that's your dead center right there. So what you can do is you can actually just drop a stitch in, like a cross stitch or a little knot or something like that of a different color floss, and that way it'll mark the center of your pattern, so that way you don't lose it again. And then when you're working on your pattern, if you are going to start from the center, what I would do, so your center there, so here's your center on your pattern here, what I would do is find the area of stitching that's closest to that center, so you're less likely to make a mistake. So in this case, it's part of the word valor, it's the L of the valor. So I would actually start with this stitch here. So you got your center mark right here. Just going to mark that. Pencil. So you got your center mark right there. So if you go one stitch down, and on the left-hand side, that's going to be your first stitch. So for example on here, so there's your center there. Sorry, this is 16 count fabric, so it's a little bit small. So there's your center there, so one stitch down, and on the left-hand side of it, so that's going to be the first stitch of your L right there. That's that one right there. So then what you can do is just work down whichever direction is easiest for you. Some people like to do like a half down and then half back up again, or work full stitches all the way down, and so you can work in any direction that's easiest for you. I don't tend to, I don't do parking, which is another technique. I'll put a link to that video in the video description below in case you don't know what that is. But I tend to just kind of work haphazardly across my piece and whatever is easiest. So I'll start with big chunks of one color, particularly if I am using this centering technique, which I have done for some of my most recent samples I'm working on. I'll just work in one color that's closest to it, and just keep working down, oh, run out of thread, working down, oh, maybe I'll start going this way, and just work that way, whichever way seems to make the most sense to me at the time. I don't tend to follow any strict rules about, like, oh, okay, I have to start here and work my way across. It doesn't really matter. Like, your stitches are all going to get done eventually, so it doesn't really matter which way you work across, just whatever way works best for you. And that's the good thing about cross stitches. You can just experiment and see what works best for you. So yes, that's how you would start in the center of your fabric. So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to let me know. If there's something I haven't explained well enough, please comment below and let me know. And also if you have any suggestions for other things that you'd like to see or other tutorials, please let me know that as well. And if you'd like to access some of the free patterns on this site, so if you want to practice some of these tips, you can go to the little, click the little button that's up on the left-hand side, and you can access the free patterns there. You just have to sign up. It's free to sign up. And if you can't see that button, the link in the video description, the first link, will be what you're going to want to click to get access to that page. And as always, please subscribe so you know when the next video is coming, which is always a good thing, so you can get more tips and tricks. And if you enjoyed this video, please share it, because I love helping other people learn some great tips as well. And that's it for now. I'll talk to you later. Bye for now.